What is up, everybody? Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It's your girl, Denise Salcedo, and it is Tuesday, May 28th, and we are here to chat about a very noteworthy episode of WWE NXT. Now, let me tell you, it was funny because we had one big thing happen with the women today, and I did my thumbnail, I prepared, and I'm like, great, that is going to be the story for today. And then I thought, oh, well, probably nothing else is going to happen on the show. That was going to be really the big thing. And then in the closing last couple of minutes, we had a debut of Ethan Page on the show. So not only did we have Jordynne Grace announced as Roxanne Perez's next challenger at NXT Battleground, but also Ethan Page is now with WWE on the NXT brand. So those are our big two stories that we're going to talk about here today. And then we also got some other stuff that we normally have to talk about in regards to NXT. So if anybody here thought that Sexyy Red was going to be the biggest topic on today's episode of NXT, well, we were completely wrong. The biggest story for today is not Sexyy Red, although there is some stuff to talk about in regards to that too, because we also have some updates on the women's NXT North American Championship matches. So here we go, everybody. So let's get right to this show and talk about what went down. So first of all, I want to go ahead and get into these super chats because we got a lot to get to. So here we go. This is from Luis Arturo Mendez, who says TNA versus NXT confirmed. We got Sheldon Jackson here, who says Ethan Page versus Trick Williams for the NXT Championship at NXT Battleground. Take my effing money right now. This is better than Noam Dar versus Trick Williams. Sheldon, and to everybody here watching, we have been talking week after week. I sounded like a broken record. A lot of people here in the chat sounded like a broken record. We've been talking about how there haven't been enough men in the NXT division to really spice shit up, especially when it comes to challenging Trick Williams. And we've been talking about how a lot of the story surrounding Trick Williams as champion has not been good. And it's funny because prior to Ethan Page coming out, there was not going to be much to say. Like, let's just say, for example, Ethan Page did not come out today. There would have been hardly nothing to talk about in regards to Trick Williams, which is crazy because that is your NXT champion. So you definitely want to be talking about your NXT champion on the show. However, the last couple of weeks, it really hadn't been too great. So thankfully now things are definitely turning around. Also, Sheldon Jackson, thank you so much for the 5 DWO memberships. We got Steven in here who says, I don't think anyone had Jordynne Grace on their bingo card as the next challenger for Roxanne. This is big. Abso-freaking-lutely not. I posted my reaction on Instagram when Jordynne Grace came out, and go watch it because it's legit. And I'll post my Ethan Page one afterwards because I had the stupidest reaction to Ethan Page coming out because, again, I was not expecting for anything major to happen on the show because I thought that the biggest thing that had already happened with Jordynne Grace. We have Stephen Marchuli here who says, Jordynne Grace versus Roxanne Perez segment was fire. Ethan Page to close the show was cool. NXT is cooking. They needed this, guys. And they've also been promoting the hell out of that NXT Battleground show because it's going to be at the Apex. And funny enough, I actually drove by the Apex by accident when I was in Las Vegas this weekend for Double or Nothing. And because basically, like, there's the strip, right? And that's where everything is at. But turns out I had forgotten something that I needed for my camera, so I had to go to a Best Buy. So it took us off course. And when I was driving to that Best Buy, I ended up finding the Apex. And I was like, that's so random that I ended up driving to where the Apex is at. And I didn't even realize that it's off the strip. So there you go. Fun fact for those of you who are going and maybe have never been, because I have never been. So there you go. We got King Melho, by the way, who just became a brand new member of the DWO. Welcome. We have Jared here who says it's official. Ava is the best current WWE GM. Dude, people were kind of mean to Ava, all right? I've been seeing on social media a lot of people say like, oh, Ava's not good. Ava this, Ava that. And in the beginning, she wasn't so comfortable, I think, in the role. But I really do think that week after week after week, Ava has started to become herself. She feels a lot more comfortable on camera. And like even today when she introduced Sexyy Red, she had a lot of things to say during that introduction, and she got all her lines down. I was like, go girl. I think Ava is definitely coming into her own. We also have Aaron Garcia here who says all ego is a huge get for the NXT men's division. Yes, 100% agree with that, Aaron. We got Mr. Acosta here who says the one night I missed NXT and it's this one, shaking my head. Okay, I'm not even joking around. Okay, so normally you guys know that I watch every show live from the moment that it begins to the end. However, there are some times where I'll start Raw like half hour late. I actually didn't watch Raw last night. I only watched the Liv Morgan kissing Dominic Mysterio segment. So I still have to watch Raw. And today for NXT, I was like, I'm going to catch up in a bit. So I started NXT 20 minutes late today, and I wasn't expecting any of this. I thought today was going to be like a throwaway episode. Like I wasn't expecting two huge newsworthy stories. We also have Matt Logan here who says so much swearing on the Jordynne Grace appearance. Matt Logan saw my reaction video. Matt Logan, thank you so much for watching my reaction video. We got Brandon Rosen who says super pumped about the new additions, but I'm even happier that we won't have weeks more of the old tired who attacks so-and-so storyline. Dude, you guys know I was not crazy about the Gallus stuff last week. Last week, I kept saying, damn, we really have the Gallus guys involved in two storylines, the NXT North American Championship and the NXT Championship. Well, had I known all of this last week, I wouldn't have complained as much last week. But last week I was a little bit of a complainer. But anyways, let's get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and start things off with the Jordynne Grace, Roxanne Perez portion, and then we'll get into the Ethan Page stuff. So Roxanne Perez and Jordynne Grace. I say it and it still doesn't even sound real, but here we go. So all that we had known going into this was that Ava had said that today we would be finding out who Roxanne Perez's next opponent was. Now, there are a lot of women on NXT. That is the strongest division on that show, and we all know it. And it was a little bit weird that we didn't really have like a big story for Roxanne Perez. And right now, a lot of the focus has been on that NXT North American women's match. That's where all of the attention has been. All of the women have been involved in that story. And so it kind of felt like Roxanne Perez was sort of left out in the cold just a little bit. There wasn't anything major to discuss regarding Roxanne. And of course, Roxanne is a heel now, but again, once she won the title from Lyra, there really wasn't that much going on with her on the actual programming. So I thought, oh, like, who are they going to announce as her challenger? Like, there really wasn't like a major hint or anybody that they had given us clues about. I actually thought that today we might be seeing Wendy Choo. And the reason I thought it was Wendy Choo is because I thought, okay, if they're making such a big deal about announcing Roxanne Perez's opponent, it's going to be someone that we're waiting on. Okay, who have we been seeing teasers for in the last couple of weeks? Wendy Choo. Wendy Choo is the person that we've been seeing teasers of the last 2 weeks. So because of that, I thought, oh, maybe it's going to be Wendy Choo. And I was already excited and waiting to see Wendy Choo when all of a sudden we see on the screen Jordynne Grace's name pop up. And I'm thinking, WTF is going on here? Now, this is technically, it was a big surprise for this time and period for today for NXT. However, Jordynne Grace has appeared on WWE television. She was at the Royal Rumble. That was the big thing that happened with Jordynne Grace. She came out in the Rumble. She looked like a zillion bucks. In fact, she even looked like she was on the level of Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, those women. Like, she looked on that level. If you didn't watch wrestling, if you had no idea who anybody was, you would think Jordynne Grace is one of the top women in WWE if you didn't know any better. And so Jordynne went out and she had a phenomenal appearance on the Royal Rumble. So much so that a lot of people who did not know Jordynne Grace had so much freaking interest in her. I'm not even kidding you. what was it? I think a day after the Rumble, maybe 2 days after the Rumble. I forgot if it was 1 or 2 days after the Rumble. I'm sorry. I did an interview with Jordynne Grace, and that interview is one of my most watched interviews like in the last year, especially virtually, because in-person interviews get so many more views than virtual interviews. This virtual interview that I did with Jordynne Grace got like over 40,000 something views in 24 hours. That is a lot. That is a lot. And so that just kind of goes to show the interest that people had in Jordynne Grace and wanting to know, okay, who is she? Because while I understand that here on my channel, I have a huge community of wrestling fans that consider themselves, I would say, hardcore wrestling fans. And I know this because I see it. And so even though a lot of the hardcore wrestling audience fully knows who Jordynne Grace is, and we know who's in TNA, and we know what's going on, and we know all that stuff, sometimes we forget, hey, there's this huge WWE audience that do not know these people. And so when Jordynne Grace did that Royal Rumble appearance and she wowed all of these people, she definitely had the conversation. She was the conversation. And so I don't know when exactly Jordynne Grace's deal is up with TNA. I don't even know what the details surrounding that are. But so she does the Royal Rumble thing. Cool. Now fast forward to May, the end of May, and she's now going to be challenging for the NXT Women's Championship. So she's going to be going up against Roxanne at Battleground. And basically, this was a very straightforward promo. She just came out and said who she was. She reminded people that she was at the Rumble. She told Roxanne that she liked her as champion, thought she was doing a good job, but so that she was also doing a good job as NXT Women's NXT Knockouts champion. And so she basically said, I want to find out who is the better of us, and I'm coming for your title, and I want to walk out of NXT Battleground as a double champion. So you're looking at this and you're going, holy shit, Roxanne Perez right now. There's a lot to get excited. There's a lot of winners in this. So let's talk about winners right now, because there's a lot of people winning in this scenario. But the number one winner in all of this, my friends, is Jordynne Grace. This woman is, first of all, kicking ass, right? Like, she's doing her thing. She's kicking ass. She's doing her thing. She's Jordynne Grace. She's doing her thing on TNA. She's got a lot of stuff outside of TNA that she does. And she has completely revamped her look in the last couple of years. And now she is getting this promotion with the biggest pro wrestling company while not even being signed with that company. Can we stop and think about how lucky Jordynne Grace is to be in this position where it's like TNA is like, we have this gem that you can use, and Jordynne Grace is that gem that is definitely benefiting and reaping of all of the rewards. And whether, you know, for whatever reasons, whatever political reasons that WWE has to work with TNA, and whatever reasons TNA has to work with WWE, whatever. The point is, Jordynne Grace is winning regardless of whatever background political stuff is going on behind the scenes. Doesn't matter. Jordynne Grace is winning in this scenario. All right. Talk about some good ass luck for Jordynne Grace. Now, that's the biggest winner in this whole thing. I'm going to say the second biggest winner right now is Roxanne Perez. And the reason I say that is because even though Jordynne Grace okay, I'm going into this fully expecting Roxanne Perez to win this match. However, if they all of a sudden did something super crazy where they did have Jordynne Grace win, I would be like, holy shit, dude. Yeah, that would be crazy, right? So because I'm not expecting it to be that crazy, I am expecting Roxanne Perez to successfully defend her NXT Women's Championship. And so think about it. You're going to be successfully defending your title against Jordynne Grace, who is not only a champion in another promotion, looks so great in the Royal Rumble, but also looks the way she does. And let's be real, there is a size discrepancy between Jordynne Grace and Roxanne. But Roxanne, I'm assuming in this match, is going to win through her wrestling prowess, right? Like she is going to show that. And even here, like I'm just sitting here and I'm just thinking of like the match that they're going to have. And I legitimately cannot wait. So there you go. That is a huge thing for Roxanne. If she does defeat Jordynne Grace, which I am expecting that to happen, that is going to be a massive, massive person to have underneath your belt, basically saying, hey, I beat this person to defend and keep my NXT Women's Championship. And that not only makes Roxanne look, it just doesn't make Roxanne look good. It makes her look even better. It makes her look like such a strong champion. So what I'm saying is both of these ladies are definitely winning in this scenario. On top of that, TNA, definitely good thing for them too. And I'm going to tell you why I think this is a good thing for TNA as well. Because I know the argument of people are going to be like, oh, well, why would you send your champion to go lose to another champion? That is definitely going to be an argument that some people might make. However, the reason I see this as a win for TNA is one, you're seeing someone talk about your champion, your performer on this kind of a scale. TNA does not get the same numbers that WWE does. And right now, they definitely need that. They need more attention, more buzz, and whatever buzz they can possibly get, in my opinion, is definitely a positive. Now, also, so far we've only really seen this TNA working relationship with Jordynne Grace, right? Now, how I see this too is, let's say they start to do more of this, right? Like, let's say we start to see some other signed TNA talent come out and do stuff with WWE. Let's just say that happens. Okay, all of a sudden, when there are people when you see your independent wrestlers try and get signed places, all of a sudden, TNA is going to look a lot more favorable because they're going to be like, oh shit, if I want to get noticed by WWE, I don't necessarily have to go to this place. I can now go to TNA and have an opportunity of getting noticed to eventually make it to WWE. Or hell, I can grow my name, become a big star, and have my option of either AEW or WWE or whatever it is that person so desires. So I see this as a huge win for TNA on those two sides of the argument. And then for WWE NXT, it's just like, well, it's a nice, newsworthy thing, right? You're like, oh, cool, it's Jordynne Grace. And so all of a sudden there's this buzz and we're sitting here being excited when we're talking about their product. So there you go. It's a win-win-win for everybody across the board here. So that's where we're at with Jordynne Grace and Roxanne Perez and why this is definitely a good thing. So let's get into some of these super chats because we got some more. We got Heidi Ho here who says, Jesus Christ, what an episode. I know. We have Jay Stone here who says, with all this going on, they do owe Mustafa Ali a North American title shot. Just saying. Well, my friend, Mustafa Ali is doing stuff with TNA. Obviously, he's over there doing his thing. I don't know that we'll see Mustafa Ali right now in WWE if let's say they start to do a lot more. Oh my God, can you imagine that? Holy shit, can you imagine that? If all of a sudden we're seeing Mustafa Ali back in WWE with a shot for the NXT North American title shot, but via TNA. I don't even want to talk about it. That's just too complicated to explain right now. But there you go. Thank you so much, Jay Stone. We got a very generous super chat here from Mike Parker. Thank you so much to Mike, who says, as cool as Jordynne Grace coming in is, I'm even more intrigued how they booked this. Can't see either eating a pin. I'd also be cognizant if I was TNA that while it's a great exposure, it's clear WWE wants her on their roster. Oh, dude. Yeah. 1,000%. 1,000%. Like the second Jordynne Grace's contract is up with TNA, dude, they are going to take her so freaking fast. Yes, I think TNA already realizes that. Literally anybody can see this coming miles and miles away. They might as well use it to their benefit right now, because right now while she's there, she's going to be uttering the words TNA. And so right now, you know what? It's benefiting them. Cool. Take it while you can. The second she's done, second her contract's up, she's gone, bro. She's gone. And good for her, though. Good for her, because I think a talent like Jordynne Grace deserves to see the lights that are the grandest stage. So if you want to see people that work hard get to the biggest stage they possibly can. And Jordynne Grace looks like $1,000,000. She wrestles like $1,000,000. She conducts herself so nicely. I've interviewed her multiple times now on this channel. You can check it out. And she's always super pleasant and super respectful and is just nice and professional whenever you talk to her. Like she's a businesswoman, you know, she's handling her brand, she's doing her thing. So honestly, good for Jordynne Grace. She's a lucky son of a gun. All right. We got Andrew Cool here who says, I can see Becky going to TNA for several months. No way. I did not see that happening. No way. Thank you for the super chat, but no way. We got Alex Williams here who says, I was surprised that Ethan Page went to WWE NXT. So was I, my friend, but damn, do we need him on this brand, bro. Let's get to that. Let's talk about Ethan Page and what is going on here and what's been going on with Ethan Page and where everything has been. All right, so let's just recap the last couple of years for Ethan. So he had been in TNA doing his thing. He had been partners with Josh Alexander. Phenomenal tag team. Eventually breaks off, goes off on his own, goes to AEW, makes his debut at, I think it was Revolution. I'm blanking for a second. Sorry, guys. But he makes his debut with AEW. All right, cool. Unfortunately for Ethan Page, it was a situation of, I'm going to say just like overall bad timing for Ethan Page because like he came in during a time where we were seeing so many people come into AEW. So it was like whatever buzz and moment you got when you debuted, that was like your peak sort of. And everybody else that came afterwards everybody was just sort of fighting for a position, I would say. And depending on who your name was, who you were probably just going to be treated differently. You were going to be treated in a higher position on the show. And because Ethan Page did come from TNA, he didn't come from WWE to AEW, he came from TNA. I think that sort of worked against him where like he wasn't seen as big of a star as the people that had jumped from WWE to AEW during this time period. And so for that reason, Ethan Page, it just did not go so well for him. He was getting some moments here and there. Don't get me wrong. He had some cool matches. He had some cool moments, but it was never really anything that got him to the very top or shit. Sometimes I didn't even feel like he was in the mid card for a while. We didn't even see him when they were doing the Men of the Year with him and Scorpio Sky and Dan Lambert. I remember that sort of getting, that got actually kind of annoying really fast. And that was primarily because the entire focus was on Dan Lambert. And it just became a thing where like kind of developed a little bit of go away heat, at least for me. And so there was a lot of interest that was lost there. And then I don't even remember what's the last thing that they had Ethan Page do in AEW. I think he was doing like Ring of Honor. I don't even know what he had been up to the last couple of months of this time period in AEW, but that should kind of tell you how things weren't necessarily going so great for him on that brand, in that promotion. And so Ethan Page now debuts here on NXT. Basically how he debuted is they had him attack Trick Williams. Now, for those of you who do not watch NXT, Trick Williams, your NXT champion, hasn't really had a massive challenger since he won. He came off with this incredibly hot story with him and Carmelo Hayes, his former BFF, and wins the title, building shakes, it's a whole thing. And then it was like, well, now what? Who's going to face Trick Williams? What's going to happen now? They started a program with him and Noam Dar, and it wasn't necessarily the hottest thing to do. So Noam Dar gets attacked. And I remember even saying, man, I think Noam Dar just faked the whole thing. He probably didn't even get attacked. It's probably just a big bunch of, hocus pocus, whatever. Like, I didn't even believe it. Like, I was like, he probably just attacked himself. He's just probably trying to blame Trick Williams, make him look like he did something when he didn't even do anything. That was my assumption of this whole thing. And then, Ora Menza. No, wait, I'm fast forwarding. Okay, so after Noam Dar gets attacked, we later then see last week, we see Joe Coffey of Gallus attack Trick Williams. And I'm like, oh, this is the story we're going with? And again, I really wasn't that interested. Whatever. Fast forward to today. Ora Menza, who is also a stablemate with Noam Dar in the metaphor, gets attacked. And suddenly, my fake attack theory is out the door because I'm like, well, I don't think Ora Menza would also do a fake attack. I could see Noam Dar doing it, but I don't know that Ora Menza would actually do it. But I thought, they're just doing this so that eventually we find out that this is just going to be about Lash Legend and Trick Williams, and they're finally going to... It's weird because with Lash Legend and Trick Williams, they also really haven't become like an on-screen couple. Like, we know there's something going on there, but it also hasn't officially blossomed on the show. And so I thought, oh, maybe this is going to be the thing that leads to Lash Legend being like professing her love to Trick Williams to the point where she becomes his valet or something. I don't know. I thought that this was going to further push that story. All right. So Lash Legend confronts Trick Williams today, and she wants to know if he attacked Noam Dar and Ora Menza because those are her friends. And before Trick Williams can even answer, the lights turn down, then they come back up, and then Ethan Page comes from behind and just starts punching the shit out of him. And so takes him out, and then he raises the NXT Championship above his head, and that is basically how we closed out the show. So Ethan Page is now there, and I hope, and this is something where I feel like I've said these exact same thoughts when Brian Pillman Jr. came in. So when Brian Pillman Jr. came in, I had said, oh, I really hope, I said that I had hopes that they do something with him that we didn't get to see of when he was in AEW, because he was another guy that things just didn't go the way that you thought they would for him in AEW. It just wasn't he wasn't in that spot on AEW. It just wasn't going to happen. And that's basically how it felt. Like, he was never going to get to a certain level. And it seemed like he was going to be stuck in the exact same spot no matter how long he decided to stay there. We didn't see him breaking out of the low mid card on AEW. So I said, okay, cool. Now that he's on NXT, I really hope we get to see him on, a title picture. And well, for those of you who watch NXT, you guys have known how it's played out for Lexis King. It necessarily hasn't been good stuff for him. All right. So now with Ethan Page, I am feeling like this is going to be so much better than what they've done with Lexis King. And the reason I say that is because they're already starting Ethan Page in a program with Trick Williams. So because he already came out and attacked the NXT champion, and because we know there's a spot there's a spot to be grabbed there for the challenger position. And so for that reason, based alone on how they have started things with Ethan Page, I have a better feeling about how his NXT run might go in comparison to Lexis King. Again, Lexis King did start off really good with some really great promos, but I think this is different. I think this is different in the sense that he's in the top storyline. Bam, he's already facing the NXT champion. So that's where we're at with Ethan Page in NXT. So again, hope that he finally gets the opportunity to show what he wants to show. Ethan Page is also another person that I've interviewed here on the channel. You guys can check that out. He has a really nice, cool personality, down to earth. He has also transformed his body too. He talks about that in our interview because he was never how do I explain this? He didn't look the way he looks right now. Let's just say that. He looks really good. This is the best he's looked. So good for him because he talks about that journey to getting to where he's at right now physically. So you guys can check that out as well. All right. So let's see what else we got here. Rancho Mintman says Eddie Guerrero stole my super chat. That's sweet. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. Stephen Marchuli says tonight's version of Lexis King is money. Well, since we touched on Lexis King, I might as well talk about what he did on today's show and how things went with that. So Lexis King last week lost to Dante Chen. And last week I was like, oh, this is not looking so good for Lexis King. Like, it just keeps getting lower and lower every week, right? Like, that's been my opinion. Well, today they did a rematch with him and Dante Chen. And the second they decided to do a rematch because basically Dante Chen wanted to prove that it wasn't a fluke victory last week. He wanted to prove it was not a fluke victory. And the second he said that, I'm like, Dante Chen has to win again. Like, you can't have the guy go out there and lose when he's trying to prove that he's the shit. You know, he's trying to prove that he's somebody. He's a baby face. They did a whole little video package for him. All the baby faces backstage were rooting for him. There was a lot happening for the guy. You can't have him go out there and now lose to Lexis King. So he does again defeat Lexis King in the crucifix pin. And afterwards, Lexis King attacks him, gets his heat back. And so pros, I had said this last week, and really the only true pro here is we finally got another storyline for the men here. And I'm willing to see where this goes. I hate these words, but I'm willing to see where it plays out. I did not like the way it started, but I'm willing to see how it plays out because, again, we need to see Lexis King in an actual freaking storyline. And Dante Chen isn't necessarily the person we thought he would be in a program with. But you know what, though? NXT has shown us that they are pretty good at developing new faces. And right now, this is their chance to make or do or see how much they can get out of Dante Chen in this program. So I'm gonna let it play out. Dante Chen being a babyface, I think is perfect because I don't think I could really buy him as a heel. I see him as a babyface through and through. So we'll see how that story plays out. And that's basically where we're at for today with Lexis King. All right, so now I want to go ahead and switch gears into one of the stories that has been a huge topic throughout the last couple of weeks because it's sort of been the meat of NXT, and that is the Women's NXT North American Championship picture. Before we do, we got a super chat here from Sheldon who says, Lexis King versus Dante Chen is the modern version of Triple H versus Shelton Benjamin from 2004. I don't know, man, because to me, Shelton Benjamin was just such an incredible wrestler, and I don't necessarily feel like I feel that way about Dante Chen. Like, to me, Shelton Benjamin was just on a different level, so it's kind of hard for me to compare it in that sense. But thank you so much to Sheldon for pointing this out. All right, so the Women's NXT North American Championship picture. I'm pretty proud of myself, guys. I'm pretty proud of myself. You want to know why? Weeks ago, before they even announced who was going to be wrestling who in these qualifier matches, I had predicted the 6 women that would be in the ladder match before we even had the qualifying matches. And I'm proud of myself because I was only off. I had 12 names to pick from, okay? And I was only off by one freaking woman. One freaking woman I was off. I had predicted Soruka, Jada Parker, Michin, Fallon Henley, Lash Legend, and Thea Hale. Thea Hale is the only one that I got wrong because she is not in this ladder match, and it isn't. Instead, it is Kelani Jordan. So Kelani Jordan and who qualified today? It was Kelani Jordan and Michin were the last 2 women who qualified today for the ladder match. So Michin versus Tatum Paxley, I had expected that one to go with Michin just because I feel like this is an opportunity for her to shine. She's somebody that they really haven't done much with. They've sort of had her in the shadows. And so I feel like this is her opportunity to show, hey, man, don't forget me. You guys brought me here. Put a little investment in me, and this is why. So I'm actually really happy to see Michin get an opportunity in this match. I know that everybody here, including myself, really loved Tatum Paxley. We were so impressed with her a couple weeks ago when she had her match where she did the freaking 450 and everybody was like, wait, Tatum Paxley can do a 450? What is happening here? Whatever, right? So I know everybody here really likes Tatum Paxley. I know a lot of people here would have really liked to see Tatum Paxley in this match, but this was one where I was like, damn, either one really needs it. But I think Michin has sort of been waiting for her moment a little bit longer. And given that she is a main roster talent and didn't really get to show anything there. I feel like this is her chance right now. So I really hope she comes out looking really good at NXT Battleground. I'm not expecting her to win, but I am expecting her to have some cool moments. And then Kelani Jordan, Manny Rankowski. This one was very straightforward. Once that you saw the matchup, you knew Kelani Jordan was winning this. She is somebody that has improved very, very quick on NXT. She was part of the Iron Survivor Challenge last year, at the end of last year, and she looked really good in that. And so she's somebody that started getting a little bit of momentum on NXT, sort of winded down, but that's because there really wasn't any story for her. But she was still being shown sporadically on NXT programming as a friend of Thea Hale and as a friend of Fallon Henley before Fallon Henley turned heel. So Kelani Jordan is also added to this. There's really not that much to say in regards to predictions that we haven't already spoken about. So Ruka for the win. Excited for it. But there is another thing we need to talk about, and this is in regards to Sexyy Red. So Sexyy Red is the rapper that showed up here today. She had been promoted for, I think, like a week or two. Yeah, like a week. It had been known that she was going to be coming out on NXT. Apparently, she's a fan. She tweeted about the show. Shawn Michaels saw that. I'm assuming invited her, and that's how, shit went down, and now she's on NXT. Well, two things to take from this. One, she's going to be the host for NXT Battleground. And two, she showed off, she unveiled the NXT North American Women's Championship. So, and I'm guessing they had her do this because the title plate is red on the belt and her name is Sexyy Red and she's got red hair. So I figured they were like, oh, red and red. Let's have her unveil the belt. And so that's what they did. I'm pretty sure that's what the thought process was here. Red belt, red hair. Let's just have her make the announcement. Either way, I do like the belt. I thought the belt looked pretty nice, and I'm excited to see Ruka or whoever, Fallon Henley, whoever it is, win it and become the NXT North American Women's Champion. Because that title picture is going to be cool, guys, because we have the depth. This roster has the depth to do good stories for both the NXT Women's Championship and this new incoming championship for the women. So not much else to really add there that we haven't already discussed. So we got another super chat here. This is from Heidi Ho here, who says, how much longer till Ricky Starks shows up? I don't know when Ricky Starks is done with AEW, but I don't want to see Ricky Starks show up on NXT. I don't think Ricky Starks is an NXT talent. Ricky Starks is a main roster talent. He needs to come out and show up on Raw or SmackDown, my friends. He would do great on NXT, don't get me wrong. Phenomenal on NXT. But I think he has what it takes to be on Raw or SmackDown. But that's how I feel about that. We got Matt Logan here who says, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky were a decent team. That Scorpio got hurt for a long time. Then Scorpio got hurt out of 10 months. Ethan was lost. They could have definitely done so much more with Ethan Page. And Scorpio Sky getting hurt, I feel like as a team, they weren't such a, how do I explain this? Like they weren't such an important team, in my opinion, to where it really had to affect Ethan Page. Like, to me, there was no reason that Scorpio Sky getting hurt had to affect Ethan Page. Because to me, they weren't that good of a team together. And I'm not saying that like as a, I should rephrase that, not as a, in-ring wise, but more so as an act. Like, as an act. It was primarily about Dan Lambert. And so that's why I'm saying, like, I didn't feel like this was not the Lucha Brothers. This was not the Young Bucks. Like, these were not two people that belonged together. They did not. They could have easily both gone their separate ways with no matter what. They did not have to be together. That's what I'm trying to get at. So, yeah, just wanted to rephrase that because I didn't say it right the first time. But regardless, Ethan Page, it went, things happened the way that it happened in AEW, and now he has a chance to hopefully, switch things up for himself. Maybe have the career that he wants to have. We'll see. All right, so let's see what else we got here. The other topics I want to get into. Everything everything else is sort of really quick. There's not too much time to spend on everything else because those were really the big stories. But I'll kind of highlight a little bit of everything else that occurred on the show. But before I do, just a friendly reminder to everybody here, there is lots of new content right now up on the YouTube channel that you guys can go ahead and check out. Lots of Double or Nothing content, a 2-hour podcast that Reg and I did. I clipped out the best parts so you guys can check those out. You can also watch the media scrums that are up. Yes, my arms still hurt from having to carry my camera, but it is what it is. Check out those videos, guys. And yeah, there's going to be more content incoming pretty soon. I'm going to be dropping an interview, I think, on Thursday, which is the one that I shot on Sunday when I left really fast from that collision interview. And I think I'm going to put that up on Thursday. So keep an eye out for that one. I'm really excited about it. It's a person that I've actually never interviewed before that you guys all know. So there you go. That'll happen on Thursday. So keep an eye out. All right, let's just kind of run through some other stuff that wasn't necessarily too much of a big deal on the show. Ridge Holland, Riley Osborne. Riley Osborne hits a Redeemer and wins the match here. There was really no reaction, guys. This story has just been there. I haven't been too crazy about this story. You guys know this. I don't want to spend more time on it. Lola Vice versus Ariana Grace. This was set up hilariously. And I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. Ariana Grace confronted Lola Vice backstage and started telling her, like, you shouldn't be doing these underground matches. They're so unladylike. They're so brutal. All of this, you know, that's who she is. That's her character, right? And basically, Ariana puts her foot in her mouth and she finds herself in a match with Lola Vice. But the best part about this was that Ariana Grace was like, oh, shit, once she realized that she had a match with Lola. And then it was funny because she doesn't curse. She's Mrs. Perfect Lady, woman, whatever the hell she's supposed to be. And so it was really funny. The match was really quick. Lola gets a win. And afterwards, Shayna comes out there. They both want to fight each other, but they're both held back by security. So they don't ever actually touch each other. And next week on the show, we're going to see a preview of Lola and Shayna. Not exactly sure what kind of a preview. I'm going to guess we're going to watch them train. Who knows? Some cool video package is what I'm expecting here. But what I want to see too is that Lola Vice defeated Natty in that NXT Underground match. And she's going to be facing Shayna now at Battleground in the exact same matchup. I want to see NXT Underground become Lola Vice's match. Like, I want that to be her signature match, that whenever she's in an NXT Underground match, that everybody goes, oh, you know that's Lola's thing. Lola's going to win that because that's her match stipulation. She knows what to do in that matchup. I want to see that happen for Lola Vice. And so I'm already going to say this. I want to see Lola Vice defeat Shayna Baszler. I want to see her sort of become undefeated in these NXT Underground matches. So I'm looking forward to that. As of right now, there's not much more to add about this. We got Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson in a quick match against Idris and Malik. They defeat them. The big thing to take away from here is that they are going to challenge for the NXT Tag Team Championships again. I feel like we've seen this a million times, but they're going to challenge for the titles against Nathan Frazier and Axiom at Battleground. And I think that was pretty much it. Trick and Javon defeated Gallus, but that wasn't even the big thing. The big thing was obviously everything that happened afterwards with Ethan Page. So that, my friends, was NXT. Two huge stories today that actually went down on the show. Next week, we're going to be seeing Damon Kemp versus Tony D. Tony D's first defense of the Heritage Cup. We're also going to be seeing Jordynne Grace versus Stevie Turner. I forgot to mention that at the top of when we were talking about Jordan. She's going to be showing people, hey, this is what I can do. I'm going to be in a match with Stevie Turner. This was made backstage when Stevie Turner was complaining about Jordynne Grace getting an opportunity over her. So that match is going to be taking place next week. And then we're going to see Thea Hale versus Jasmine Nix. Jasmine Nix, who is the friend of JC Jane. And so they're finally going to have their match together next week. So that, my friends, is NXT for today. I got all the super chats. I read everything. So that's pretty much a wrap. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back tomorrow with Righteous Reg to talk about AEW Dynamite. Heads up, our show will be going on an hour later because I will be at the show tomorrow since it's at the Kia Forum here in Los Angeles. So I'm giving myself an hour to come home and get ready and make it on time for the show. If I get home earlier, the show will start earlier, but I want to give myself an hour to get out of the arena and drive home. So keep an eye out. It's going to be a late show for that. And then, of course, I'll be back on Friday with Robin to talk SmackDown. And then Sunday, I will be, oh no, not Sunday. I'm sorry. Saturday, I will be here to talk about Collision. Thank you guys so much. As always, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Give some love on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone. Have a good day.